I spent years at corporatish, soul-sucking desk jobs that left me wanting to tear my hair out. They were great positions, but they were not for me. I'm not built that kind of way. I can't have that rigid 8 to 5 schedule. I basically lose my mind. Nonetheless, I did it anyway because it was what was opportune for me at that point in time, and I had to get back up on my feet and build a good financial basis for myself. So here are just some quick tips. I think 4 things that really helped me get through the day at a job that had me feeling like my soul was being ripped out of my body, or perhaps almost as if someone was hammering my brain consistently for weeks at a time, and how I made it through that. So the first thing is really, okay, if you're in the game, you're in the parameters of this kind of work, you've agreed to sell your time to a company and they've asked you to do a certain amount of work. The first thing you can really do when you're in a position like this is stay on top of your deadlines and actually get the work done, and even try to get maybe 10 to 25% ahead of where your supervisor or department has asked you to be. And you can do that. Most people are incredibly inefficient. Most people waste too much time, and this might go contrary to advice that I'll offer later. I think you need to take some breaks, definitely. But most people are extremely inefficient. They're not operating at full capacity. They're hungover. They're not tuned in. They're not researching the things they're working on. They're not modeling it after best practices. So it's like, ask for help, get your work done, make sure you're about 10 to 25% ahead of where you should be in any kind of private sector corporate position, and people are going to love you. So I would guess that most people operate at about 50%. They're just kind of slogging through the day. So it's like, push yourself a little bit to just get ahead of your schedule, maybe even invent a new project that interests you. Just get ahead of the game a little bit, and then you're going to be able to sit back and feel like you conquer the position that you're in and that you really can master it. So master it first, and then, so master your position first, and then look at some of this other advice I have for you. Again, I don't want this to sound hypocritical, but my second thing would be take some breaks, really. Like, get up from your desk, go walk around. When I worked at a healthcare company, I would just go tour, walk around the hospital where I was stationed at a little bit, just talk to people, talk to some of the MDs. How's it going today? Hey, Leon, what's shaking? What's new? Get away from your desk. And if your supervisor gives you trouble about this, just tell them, hey, I can't be behind my desk 100% of the time, all day, every day, because it's driving me crazy. I need to go chat with people. I need to be mobile. I need to get around. You're a human being. You're not caged. You got to do something to make it feel less like you're imprisoned, because that's how I felt when I was in these 9 to 5 positions with 0 vacation time, or 2 weeks of vacation time, but it felt like 0. I was losing my mind at times. So you got to get up from your desk, go walk around, have something. I used to have a notebook so I could write down ideas. At my desk side, I used to do different things to break up the day, because, you want to be operating something like I talked about earlier in this video. Most people operate around 50%. It's like, operate at 120% for a few hours of the day, and then take some breaks, and then leave some space and some time for yourself so you don't totally lose your mind. Pack a lunch so that you don't spend too much money eating out or going to restaurants or whatever. I don't care if your coworkers go out to eat every day. The average American spends about $4,000 a year on restaurants. That's a down payment on a house. $4,000 a year. The average American wastes, you could say spends $4,000 a year at restaurants, and that number is growing. U.S. consumer debt is out of control. That's where your down payment for a house is, man. If that's what you want to do, if you want to buy a home and get into the property ladder and build wealth for yourself, stop the restaurant, pack a lunch, do it. You can do it. Find time, meal prep Sunday or whatever you have to do, pack your meals, save some money, and then sit down at your desk or find a cozy spot at your place of work and just tune out for a little bit and eat your lunch and drink some water and reflect. You have to have points of reflection during your day. It can't be all work. You have to find that kind of rhythm. You have to find that flow. And look at the research by Csikszentmihalyi, research on flow. When you know you're doing something that you enjoy, you know the parameters of the game, you know what's being asked of you, but you're pushing it a little bit, you're being a little bit creative, you're able to improvise a little bit, time goes by really fast. Time goes by really quickly when you're in places of flow, so try to find those places throughout the day. If you're not flowing at all, you're probably in a position that's too simple for you, or maybe the projects you're working on are not difficult enough, so you can kind of recalibrate and find some things that are a little more challenging and a little more Interesting. Time dilation, you know, the relative subjective perspective of how time passes seems to be an absolutely real thing, right? There's not this objective empirical way that time moves on. From our embodied positions as humans, time can change really differently. So get in touch with that. Honestly, something I did when I was at corporate desk positions too is I read a lot. I was researching things I was working on, but oftentimes I would have like a PDF or a text file of a great book, something by Leo Tolstoy. I don't know how many times I've read Anna Karenina or War and Peace. You can pick something different. Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. Find a classic book that you can download from Project Gutenberg and just, you know, always be self-developing. Or go to Khan Academy and take some classes, and if your supervisor or your boss gives you shit about it, tell them that you're training yourself. You're training yourself to do new things, and you are. You know, pick up new skills, learn a little bit of programming, learn how to build a web page, learn how to build a website. Those are great entrepreneurial skills too. If you can learn how to put together a website in a couple hours, man, go sell those websites. Fuck yeah. All right, I really hope this video didn't come off as cheesy because I genuinely suffered at corporate desk jobs for a long time, and this is just off the top of my head a few things that I did to get through the day. I think that the last and final piece of advice I have for you is if you hate your job and you know you got to get out of there, then figure out where you're headed and start applying to new positions. Make sure you understand your company's human resources policies regarding technology. A lot of times you can't be applying to jobs. You probably shouldn't be applying to jobs while you're on company time anyway, but you can kind of gauge that out depending on where you're at. And I would say in general, unless you for some reason feel really comfortable about doing that, then it's not a good idea to apply to positions while you're on company time. But save a little bit of your energy. You're home at 5 or 6 p.m. Just do an hour of applications, or give yourself a target. You're going to apply to 1 or 2 positions every day for the next month or two until you land your next job, if you know that you absolutely have to get out of there. And that's a question you have to ask yourself. It's like, are you going to stick it through this job that you don't like? Maybe there's something you can tweak, right? Maybe there's something you can change. Maybe there's a reason to stay there a little longer, and maybe there's not. But ultimately, you have to make a decision at some point. It's like, am I going to stay or am I going to go? You have to make that decision and then figure out what to do. So plan, man, 3 to 5 years in the future. You got to have short-term, long-term, short-term, midterm, and long-term plans, and they all have to align at least somewhere, at least get you going in the right direction so you're not lost, because being lost is the worst possible thing you can be. And if you're lost today, you can start planning. Start with the small steps. Do the Jordan Peterson thing. Clean your room. Write down 10 things you want to accomplish. If you get one of them done in the next week, good for you. That's one thing that you got done that you hadn't finished before. So I'm proud of you. Keep your head up. Keep doing stuff that moves yourself forward, one day at a time. Knock off your list. Keep going through it. This video is not for everybody, but I know some of you, a lot of you, 80% of US individuals hate their job. 80% of people in the US hate their jobs. I know that. I was one of them. I don't anymore. I've had a lot of great opportunities in my life, so sorry if, I worked with you in the past and you're watching this. It's not that I didn't like you or anything. It's just that I personally wasn't jiving with the corporate environment, and so I got out of there. I teach now. I love it. Love it to hell. It's a great thing. But all right, have a good one. A little bit of a mess here, but some important ideas for those of you who are really, really struggling at work. Make sure you seek out mental health guidance if you need it too. Sometimes we confuse work-related anxiety with just generalized anxiety and other things that we can kind of take a peek at. And some of the best psychological research says get sleep, drink water, and eat healthy, good food, whole foods, and that's going to fix a lot more problems than you think. So try that too. That's something I still struggle with. I don't always eat the best, but doing this carnivore diet now, I drink a lot of water. It makes a big difference. Take care of yourselves. Good luck out there, all right?